Hello, good morning, and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. Here we are at 5:40 a.m. Central Standard Time. We have from 1950 Kentucky Beau, Kentucky blended whiskey, 80 proof, age 3 years, bottled in Bardstown, Kentucky by what is it called? Kentucky Beau Distilling. Yeah, well, that's Heaven Hill. Okay. Uh, Bought this in Meridian, Mississippi. Can't remember the name of the liquor store. It's right there off Interstate 59 / Interstate 20. They have pretty good prices there, good staff. And when I brought it up to the counter, the checkout guy said, Kentucky Beau. I said, yep. And I bought the year before, I bought Ancient Age there. Sorry, Ancient Age. Try to look this store up. Now, the competitor is Clubhouse. Brown bottle with khaki background. Blended whiskey with natural flavors and caramel color added. Bottled by Kentucky Standard Distillers. Heaven Hill. William Kepley said he found out that Heaven Hill has over 1,400 labels, 1,400 different brands. I wouldn't be shocked if that was true, because it's like everywhere you turn, there's Heaven Hill this, Heaven Hill that, but it's almost none of it's called Heaven Hill. You use all these like aliases, Quality House Distilling, Quality Control Distilling, whatever. Okay, I'm trying to look up, see if I can find this place. In Meridian, Mississippi. Okay, here's Meridian on the map. Now there's a big liquor store on the main highway, like the old Highway 11, but I didn't really find anything in there that I wanted. But they have a lot of selection. On Highway 19, State Highway 19 was the old US 11. Now US 11 is merged with the interstate instead of going through downtown. That's common in a lot of cities today. But if you just follow 19, I guess it's going north or west. Okay. Old Highway 80 west. Oh, I see that merges into 80. See, there's Old West. I'd like to try that road, see what's on it. Bunch of old houses, bunch of old stores. No, I went through downtown Meridian. It was interesting. Got lost a little bit, but I didn't really get lost for too long. I mean, you can't get lost too much. It's small, relatively small. But let's see. There's the interstate. Okay. Highway 19. As it comes off the interstate on the east side of town. Okay. Old State Highway 19. Looks like they've updated the roads. Old State Highway 19. Well, don't go on Old State Highway 19. It's like a frontage road today. Let's see here. Bonita. That's what it's called. Bonita Plaza. It's like a little strip mall by a Popeyes and a Taco Bell. Bonita Wine and Liquor. That's the name of it. What does that mean? Like beautiful, a beautiful lady, a beautiful female, something like, I don't speak Spanish. Bonita. All right. Bonita Lake Division, something I don't know. I don't know anything about Meridian. All I know it's something to do with a meridian. Latitude and longitude. Okay. All right. Okay. I think I'm going to tell these apart that fast, because Kentucky Beau is like, tastes like corn whiskey with a little bit of bourbon and a little wood and a little bit of that. So it's very basic. For $6.49 a bottle, it's kind of like, you know, the bottom. Interestingly, this is $6.99 for a liter. So for 50 cents more, you get a whole liter as opposed to $7.50. Now, if you go to Savannah Discount, they had, at least, because sometimes it sells out. They had that Clubhouse blended American whiskey for $5.99 a liter. $5.99 a liter. It has a strange flavor. At first, I hated it. I said, "Oh, something's wrong with this stuff." Oh, blah, blah, blah. Then I started thinking about it. Like thinking on it a little bit more than just screaming about it. And I realized, I said, "Oh, it's like a Canadian whiskey. The flavor is like plum wine." Okay. I made a mistake on my labeling, so I got to switch it in my mind. I put this one's KB, and I put the Kentucky Beau, and I put the I don't know why I didn't pay attention. I put the Clubhouse and the Kentucky Beau label. That's all. I just got to remember they're wrong. So if I remember they're wrong, then they're right. If it's so wrong, why does it feel so right? I'm so absent-minded. You say, "Oh, you can remember all the kings and queens of England in order, but you can't remember to put the whiskey in the right glasses." Right. Right. I can remember William and Mary, Queen Anne, King George I, King George II, King George III, King George IV, William IV, Queen Victoria, Edward VII, George V, Edward VIII, George VI, and Queen Elizabeth II. But I can't remember to put the whiskeys in the right parabola configuration, circumference, radius, diameter thing, what they call that. All right. Oh, howdy. That's the Clubhouse. How do you know, Mr. Powers? I'll tell you how I know. Joy Boy. Listen here. It smells like plum wine or some strange flavoring. And I'm not trying to be cheeky, and I'm not trying to be sarcastic, and I'm not trying to be flip. It just smells peculiar. You say, does it smell like whiskey? Actually, no. And I don't know why my friend David was just like braggadocious about it. But of course, he has that right. It's his money. He can buy whatever he wants and brag on all he wants. You know what I'm saying? You can buy whatever you want and brag on it. But, I just was confused. Triple J said, "Good morning." Good morning to you. It's a strange nuttiness too, like a walnut oil. But I've said that before in whiskey, so maybe that's correct or apropos. But it's that weird plum wine thing, which I don't mind now, but it just struck me as so strange at first. Maxwell says, "Hey, Ron, peace to you. Good morning." Peace to you. Good morning in the Russian Federation. All right, over here, let's smell this. I already know what it is, but yeah, that's Kentucky Beau. Why? Smells like grits. Yeah, smells like Quaker grits, but this is yellow corn. Quaker use white polenta, white hominy, and bourbon, and these usually use yellow corn. But anyway, it smells like corn, and that's it. It's so basic. Would I buy these? I mean, I bought them, right? But I mean, would I buy them on purpose? Well, no, I don't buy any whiskey on purpose, aside from review purposes. You see what I'm saying? I don't actually buy any whiskey to drink. I only buy them to review. That might sound mad to you, like you say, well, you're drinking them. I know, but I'm only drinking them in the context of a review or a taste challenge. You see what I'm saying? Or an examination, etc. I actually, and this is the truth, and I have no reason to lie. And you shouldn't lie even if you have so-called a reason, because there's no reason. I don't drink whiskey for a drink. I had beer. I got that in the fridge. I drank that. I got some wine, and I'll sip on that once a day, 3 ounces for like my juice. But to say I sit down and have whiskey or brandy or rum, nah, I just honestly do not. And if I go somewhere like to a party or something and they're drinking whiskey, I don't ever have an urge like, oh, I want to drink that. If they say, oh, you want to try this? I would do it. I would say, let me try that. Oh, and I would say, here's what I think. But to say I really have I'm drawing towards it, I'm not. And then that begs the question, well, why review them all the time? Well, it's interesting. It is interesting to taste them, see what it tastes like, how it compares one to another. It's interesting in that respect. But to say I'm going to drink them all the time, no. I just don't. I'm sorry. Okay, I apologize, I guess, if that upsets people, but I just don't do it. Like, I don't go around putting thumbs down on people's videos. Somebody accused me of that last night. It's probably Ron Ontario did it. I say, wrong. I had actually praised the beer on the video. And I always used to watch that guy's videos, and I still do. And I would pay money to anybody that would find a negative comment. I'll pay you money if you find negative comments on anybody's videos. I always make good comments like, oh, I've had that beer. It's pretty good. Or we used to get it. And some of the people, I don't even care for the people. Like, I don't think they're good. I don't think they make good content. I don't even think they're nice, friendly. They're nasty. Some people are very nasty in their mouth and in their ways. But I still watch the video. I'll say, well, even though the person's nasty and deceitful and did bad things, I still think they make good beer reviews. So in that context, I'll watch it. But I don't go stalking around, say, I'm going to put thumbs down. I'm going to show you. I'm not 10 years old, okay? I don't do that, all right? But I got, Beau, when he said my name, I said, man, you don't know me at all. You think you know me, but you don't know anything. Yeah, we used to be friends on Facebook, and you commented on automobiles all the time. And I used to I always make nice comments to people, but I can't answer for other people's hate. I can't answer for hate. But that was a laugh to say I go around putting the thumbs down. You better grow up, kid. You're 40 years old now. Grow up. Don't be a baby. Be a man, not a mouse. All right. I'll taste them for what it's worth, but it ain't really worth anything because I already know what it is. But I'll go ahead and go through the motions. It's just like it's grain alcohol with flavoring. That's all it is. I don't know what else to say. You could taste the plum wine. I think they use plum wine. Is it expensive, plum wine? Yeah, right. In a $6.49 bottle. Yeah, it's like the cheapest commodity. I'm sure these companies buy these huge commodities, like these huge vessels, and it'll be like generic plum wine, generic this, you know what I'm saying? It's like not something you could buy because they buy train loads of it. I mean, it's okay. It isn't even bad. It's not bad. It's just got a little sweetness. Wood. What about wood barrel? Oh, yeah, there's a little bit of that. Nobody buys this to examine it like I'm doing. They're not breaking it down. I said this before. They go in and mixing it with RC Cola and watching reruns of the Mod Squad at 6:30 in the morning when they get off of work, trying to calm down from the boss aggravating them or something. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that. It's not designed for what I'm doing. Okay, but I guess if that's your goal, then fine. Don't worry about it. You're taking the strange flavor and you're deadening it with RC Cola. So, but if you're gonna do that, at least get the cane sugar version, right? I don't know if they make that. There is a Dr. Pepper with pure cane sugar. I've seen it recently. It's got like the same color. It's like a green label. like the same color as the sugarcane stalk kind of shade of green. Oh, well, let's go over here. Oh, that's just basic. Just corn whiskey with a little bit of wood, a little bit of, no, not char, forget that. A little bit of pecan shell or something. Are these the natural color? Well, you know they're not. They already told you on the Clubhouse that it's caramel color added. And on this, it's probably caramel color added. And William Goldring, I saw a long interview. I was reading this long interview with William Goldring yesterday. Bill Goldring, the owner of Sazerac. It was on the Rouse's grocery store website. I didn't know they did interviews on their website, but it was interesting. And there, but he's a big, a lot of Rouse's sells a lot of William Goldring products, meaning Sazerac Buffalo Trace products. And he was talking about, the real whiskey is bourbon. Okay, that's what we specialize in. That's the real whiskey. And in a way, he's correct, because straight bourbon, he says, has no coloring added, no flavoring added. Whatever comes out the barrel is what you get. Can't have coloring or flavoring added. He said, but with Scotch, he was kind of like attacking Scotch whiskey. He said, with Scotch, they add coloring. They can add this and that, adulterated. But they've been around so long that they kind of got the market, he was saying, and they're so much more popular than bourbon around the world, he was talking about. He said, but we're trying to make inroads on that, and it's working and everything. Hans G says craft. Yeah. But I found it strange, that he's ripping on Scotch, and they sell a whole line of Scotch whiskeys talking about Sazerac, including the last drop, which costs $5,000 a bottle. But hey, that's what he was doing. He was saying, get real stuff, get bourbon. Basically, he was saying, don't screw around with Scotch. And he sells Canadian whiskey, and he sells blended bourbon, and he sells blended American whiskey. And I thought that was so comical, but I said, well, he's keeping it real. He doesn't care if he's attacking it. And even though he sells it, I say, well, hey. This has such a weird flavor. The plum wine, it has raisin. It tastes like raisin. Even nougat, like you get in a Three Musketeers bar. Now, does that sound proper to you? Doesn't sound proper to me. It's not bad. It's not, I cannot say, oh, this is bad. It tastes so bad. I can't stand it. I'm so hurt. I'm so offended. I'm going to cry in a towel. I can't say any of that. I'm just saying, dang, this is strange. I don't know why you'd buy it. I know why I bought it, to do the reviews, and that the label was unusual. It was an old throwback label. It looked like something from 1950, except for the UPC code. That wasn't even invented until, 1969. It wasn't commonly used until, 1976. But, I said, gold, green and gold, that's a nice color combo. And got the horseshoes, and it's $6.49 a bottle. Who cares? When you're laying down that kind of money, you don't care. Now, if it was $26 a bottle, then you start to say, let me check on this, It's good, says Hans. Well, that one's, I wouldn't call it good. Corn. I mean, it tastes like corn. You say, well, hey, people buy moonshine, which is nothing but unaged, no color, no, it's just clear corn liquor, moonshine. That's all it is. They take corn, they distill it till it's totally clear. They add water to drop it to 80 proof, and they sell it. Or then maybe they'll sell 100 proof. Yeah, I know. I don't know why people buy that. But you can buy it uncut. Everclear, It'll kill you, but you can buy it. Everclear, they sell it at Walmart. They sell Diablo. I'm sorry, I always say that. Diesel. It is like a double. Diesel. That's the Sazerac version. You can buy Diesel or you can buy Everclear. They're pure corn whiskey. But they don't call it whiskey because it's not aged. They call it grain alcohol. I was talking to a distiller at Sazerac, and he said, in New Orleans, he said, yeah, it's really dangerous. He said, I know people that are blind. They're old guys that are distiller masters from like 50 years ago, and they're like in their 80s and 90s. He said they're blind because they kept sipping the damn, excuse my language, they kept sipping the grain alcohol, you know, the 190 proof Everclear and Diesel. And it's so dangerous and toxic. They went blind. You know, it's so, if you're crazy and you have no self-control and you have no intelligence, you will buy Diesel and Everclear and drink that. Don't drink it. They'll tell you on the website, don't drink it. It's made for cutting with water and making your own liquor. Okay, that stuff's made so that you can make your own liquor. If you had a barrel, a bourbon barrel, and you charred it with flames and you put the diesel in there and you aged it for 2 years, then, and it was a new barrel, then you could say, I made straight bourbon whiskey. All right, let me get this off here. I don't mind people making comments, but when you're just making stupid comments, you know, like, it's good, it's good, it's very good, I'm crazy. Okay, well, I'm good. You're crazy. Go somewhere else. Bye. Get out lost. All right. Anyway, that happens at 5:30 in the morning. You attract the, what did somebody tell me 2 weeks ago? Social media is where the schizophrenics come to play. I believe that. So the point I'm making is these are kind of like that. These are kind of like that. And here's what I mean. And then I'm getting off of this. I'm going to look at the label just for the, which one's better? Which one's better? The price is the same, basically, so that's no consideration. I got to go with the Kentucky Beau. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to go with Kentucky Beau because if I was looking to drink whiskey, I really don't want one that tastes like plum wine, some kind of fruit. It just doesn't seem right to me. Now, if they say a fruit flavored whiskey or something, okay, yeah. And it just seems too strange to me. All right, you know, and don't tell me you need alcohol. You need, if I needed alcohol, if I needed alcohol for some kind of addiction, right? I wouldn't drink this. I would go buy a bunch of 40-ounce bottles of Hurricane High Gravity or 25-ounce cans. That's 8.1. I'm sure I'd be well on my way to, you know, self-destruction, the eve of destruction, drinking that. I would enjoy it a lot more than whiskey. You say, oh, so you're telling me you would enjoy a high gravity adjunct lager more than whiskey with filler in it? Yes, I would. Same principle. It's the same principle, right? Yeah. I knew what it was the second I smelled it. Well, one thing we know, they don't smell the same. So anybody tells you, oh, it's the same whiskey with different labels, wrong. There's no way. No way. Impossible. It is impossible. That is not happening. Okay, so let's get that straight. There's no way this is the same whiskey with two different labels. They don't smell, they look alike. Okay, caramel color. They don't smell alike. They don't taste alike. The mouthfeel is different. They're totally different. Okay. But the same principle applies. And what is the principle? Okay, let's go through this one more time. We'll probably do it a lot more times. But here's the principle. They take corn, a government subsidized grain. Do I support government subsidies for products like milk and grain? No, I do not. So they take corn. They add water to it. They distill it. You know, boil it, the vapors, the whole, I'm not going through all that. Now they get clear, odorless, colorless grain alcohol. It looks like water, but it'll kill you. It's like 190 proof. It's almost pure alcohol. If you lit a flame, it'd blow up and kill 100 people out there. And these things have happened at the distilleries where they have an explosion and it blows up. But it's not wood alcohol, rubbing alcohol, like if you have pimples, that's wood alcohol. You definitely would die drinking that. But this is corn grain alcohol. Still very dangerous to drink. That's what they got. Now, that's there. Over here, somewhere else in the distillery, they're aging bourbon. 2-year aged, 3-year aged, whatever. 12-year aged, don't matter. That's made from corn also, but they'll add wheat. They'll add wheat, rye, some other grains, perhaps, of different percentages. You add a lot of rye, it gets very spicy, maybe even off-putting. You add a little bit of rye, so whatever they do, they call that a mash bill. All right, so that's bourbon. Could be straight bourbon, could be just bourbon, meaning it's not aged 2 years, but it can be bourbon. But we know it's straight because they're telling you on the bottle, 80% grain spirits and 20% straight whiskey. Straight whiskey meaning bourbon whiskey, because if you look on the government website, Tax and Trade Bureau, there's no such thing as straight whiskey. There's straight corn whiskey and there's straight bourbon whiskey. All right. I mean, theoretically, there's straight whiskey like Early Times, which is a bourbon that's aged in a used barrel, so they can't call it bourbon. They just call it whiskey. All right. So they're taking something like that. They're blending it in with this. Or as Jack Daniels would say, mingling it. So they're blending it in. So you got 80% of this content here, 80% of this glass is grain neutral spirits, which is clear, odorless, colorless corn liquor, moonshine. All right. Unaged. They're blending in 3 year. They're blending in of whatever age. 2 years is straight, probably 2 years. Straight bourbon. Could be Evan Williams. Could be Elijah Craig. Could be Heaven Hill straight bourbon. They make probably 50 different straight bourbons. And they said on their own website, Heaven Hill, not their website, but in videos, Heaven Hill, the guy retired, Cass, whatever his name was, he retired last year, but he was a brand spokesman, worked for the company a long time. He said, well, and I sent him a friend request on Facebook. He didn't approve it. I mean, I can understand that. He said, who is this guy? You know, I understand. No problem. I don't know him. We wouldn't really be friends anyway. I was just trying to kind of like rope him into alcohol eggs to see if he had any comments on it. But he seemed like he was weary of liquor anyway. He wanted to retire and go diving, like scuba diving. He didn't want to deal with liquor. No problem. Because that was his job, you know. Me, it's a hobby. So maybe if it's your job, you just like, you don't want to deal with it. But he was saying, well, if they have a straight bourbon that's awry some way, like it's too sweet, too bland, it was in the heat too much, it wasn't in the heat enough, they'll blend it off. So that's what they're doing. They're taking like Elijah Craig or something. Old Fitzgerald. I don't know if they're using Old Fitzgerald. That's pretty high shelf. But theoretically, maybe a bad batch happened. All right. So they're blending it off with this. So then you got that. Now, they're aging it for 3 years, 4 years, because the clubhouse has no age statement, meaning it's a minimum of 4 years in an old barrel. They ain't using no new barrel. Okay, don't believe that. So in a used barrel, it's not going to take on a lot of color. It might be yellow instead of amber when it comes out the barrel. Well, people that go to the grocery store or the liquor store, they see yellow, they don't buy it. They want that red caramel color. They used to call it bourbon red. They used to call it red liquor. So they call bourbon red liquor. So to take the pretend bourbon, which is what this is, pretend bourbon, and try to make it look like real bourbon, they add caramel color. And then people buy it, whatever, you know. Same thing with adjunct beer. They're taking barley, which is the traditional beer product, hops or hop extract or hop pellets to spice, yeast. Now they're adding a lot of corn or corn syrup or corn starch or rice as a filler. And is a lot of flavor going to come from the corn and rice? No. No, that's just going to be the body, the fermentable. That's going to, the sugar in that is going to convert to the alcohol. And then you got a beer. Same thing with blended scotch and Canadian blended whiskey. The filler is the corn and rice. Well, in Japan, they use rice. In America and Europe, they use corn, maize. Same principle, same principle. People drink it every day. They drink it every day, every day, every day, every day, every day. Okay. That is a weird one. Ooh. Oh, ooh. Scary, kids, scary. Ooh. Yeah. That is, if you want to try something that's really aberrant, and some of y'all are like me, you have this like perverse attachment to these things or attraction to these things. Heck, get it. You know, get the Clubhouse. It ain't going to taste right. It's going to be, it's going to be a mess. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's a mess, you know? Oh, man. You say, you mean like the Beatles' White Album? Yeah, it's like all screwed up, you know. That album was like all screwed up because they were all taking drugs, and John Lennon especially was taking heroin, and getting caught cheating on his wife, and there's like a lot of bad vibes going on in that time period. And the producer George Martin was like, okay, we need to do like we normally do, take this huge amount of song material and like narrow it down to like a proper album, you know, 8 songs, 10 songs on a single disc, which we call whatever today. Because a lot of this stuff is like, you know, filler, you know what I'm saying? Like junk, like you jammed here, you did that there. Like in the past, the past 5 years, we would just like throw out the substandard stuff and, you know, make real good albums. But they were like, no, man, you're a drag, man. You're a corporate cat, dude. You know, so he's like, what are you talking about? This is not, I don't understand what you're saying. You know, it's like sloppy. This is sloppy. This is not what we do here. This band is like pinpoint accurate. You know, we don't put out this kind of stuff. You're like, it's too heavy. You're too heavy. You're too heavy. He's like, oh, I can't deal with this. And his attitude was, no, you're too high and drunk. You know, I don't want my name to be associated with stuff like this. And so they put it out anyway, just uncut, like we're talking about, uncut, rough cut, and a double album. And that's really when people started to say, this band's slipping, you know. And I know what you're going to say. Yeah, but the difference is these whiskeys are like cast-off items. That's what distilleries cast off, you know. It didn't come out right. They get rid of it and they sell it for $6.49. Exactly. Whereas the White Album, or the Beatles as it was called, was selling at a premium price, and it was a double album, and it was like twice the price. You know, one record whatever the price was in 1968, $4. In today's money, it'd be $24. And a double album would have been $7.50, and in today's money, $40. Well, the word got out on the street. They got a lot of junk on that album, so then the sales were not good. I mean, they weren't. It was a platinum album, but relative to the previous albums, it was poor. So kind of like Tusk with Fleetwood Mac, the sales relative to previous albums was not good. So people say, oh, things are slipping. So anyway, the whole point is that these are not a problem because they're cheap. Their cut rate. They're economy brands, budget brands, below premium. And I mean way below premium. All right, so if it's aberrant and it's unsound, if you want to say these are unsound, you don't mind because you knew that buying it. When you bought it, you knew it was unsound. But if you're buying a top shelf band, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, Electric Light Orchestra, Fleetwood Mac, Led Zeppelin, and then you get a product that's substandard, then you say, wait a minute. This is like top shelf and I'm buying. And we've had many bands do that. They put out, I don't want to get into that because it could go on forever, and you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I was there in 1979. I remember putting that album on. I think it was a Sunday morning, and I was like, what is all of this? I couldn't get over it. It was just like, what is my charisma? I don't know. I had to do a lot of thinking after that. I could see that the ship had hit the iceberg. It was like there was no chance. It could not be saved. It was going down. It was like every man for himself. Now, I don't care what kind of like carnival costumes you wear. It's over. Thanks.